Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 8th, 2008 meeting of the Glendale City Council. May we have the roll call, please?
Council members Draymond.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Yusefian.
Here.
Mayor Najarian.
Here. Council member Quintero, will you lead us in the flag salute?
Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the invocation. As Senator, President Jack Kennedy authored an interesting book titled Profiles in Courage. He wrote following: For in a democracy, every citizen, regardless of his interest in politics, holds office. Every one of us is in the position of responsibility, and in the final analysis, the kind of government we get depends on how we fulfill those responsibilities. We, the people, are the boss, and we will get the kind of political leadership, be it good or bad, that we demand and deserve. Today, our City Council will reorganize to select a mayor for the coming year. On this special day, each of us in this chamber, or at home watching, holds office, because it is the individuals that we have entrusted by our votes who will make this important decision. We pray for the wise decision of this council, and we pray that they will continue to uphold the principles and laws of this state and this land which they swore to defend. We pray for the safety and security of this community as we pass the torch to our new mayor. Amen.
May we have your report, please?
The agenda for the April 8th, 2008 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Thursday, April 3, 2008 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Before we go to item D, we have two unfortunate passings. Mr. Quintero.
Yes, I would like to adjourn the meeting in honor of Glendale resident Dale Metcalf, who happens to be the wife of Lee Torgerson. She passed away Monday after a long and valiant struggle with cancer. She was a daughter of an Air Force colonel, so she grew up all over the world. And after graduating from high school in Izmir, Turkey, a huge Air Force base, she went on to complete her degree in mathematics from Texas Christian University and the University of Texas. She had a distinguished career with the Lockheed Skunk Works and was instrumental in the development of the F-17 stealth fighter. She eventually became the chief engineer and deputy program manager for that program, and her last assignment at Lockheed was as director of engineering for the Skunk Works. Dale was one of the first female engineering managers at Lockheed. Her work earned her the respect of everyone, which ultimately allowed her to pave the way for other female engineers. A memorial service will be held at 2 p.m. Saturday, April 12th at the Church of the Angels on Avenue 64 in Pasadena. And she was a wonderful person, and as is her husband, very involved in Glendale and the Chevy Chase Homeowners Association, and our condolences go out to her husband and her family.
Thank you. I would also request that we adjourn the meeting in memory of another Glendale resident who passed away, Herbert Clark, who passed away on Saturday from colon cancer. Herbert was born in Philadelphia on October 20th, 1927. He and his wife Olga moved to Glendale in 1958 when he was discharged from the Air Force in Louisiana. Upon retirement from industrial sales in 1989, Herbert and Olga devoted their lives to their passionate pursuit of birding, butterflies, and nature. At a young age, Herbert earned his Eagle Scout badge with the Boy Scouts of America, at which time he became engrossed in the study of birds. He may be best known for his exceptional bird and nature photography. Herbert was also president of the L.A. Audubon Society from 1969 to 1972 and was a highly sought-after speaker. He gave numerous illustrated lectures showing his spectacular photographs on birds and butterflies to Audubon members and other conservation groups. He led many lively field and pelagic trips for the Society. His favorite comment was always, "Outstanding." His latest addition to the book world, An Introduction to Southern California Butterflies, in which Herb was the sole photographer, is an incredible collaboration with Fred Heath, the author. A memorial service will be held at 3 p.m. Thursday, April 10th in the Church of the Hills, Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills. In lieu of flowers, you may send a donation to the L.A. Audubon Society for the Herbert Clark Memorial Fund. Mr. Youssef.
Mayor, I did not know Herbert, but I saw him once in here when he gave us the pictures. But I did know Lee Torgerson, and Ginger Bremberg knew Lee Torgerson and liked him very much. And so I would like to, at this point, give my condolences to Lee. I know it's very tough when you're a young man and you lose your wife at such a young age. So my condolences, Lee.
Thank you. And now for that one day a year that our city clerk dreams of, item 3D, in which we turn over the running of the meeting and the city to Mr. Kasakian. Next item.
I thought you were going to say the running of the bulls, but I'm glad you said the meeting instead. All right, the business before the council is the selection of a mayor. The chair will now, and that would be me, entertain nominations for that office.
Mr. City Clerk,
Go
I would
ahead.
like to nominate John Draymond for the office of mayor.
I'll second the nomination.
Doesn't require.
Nomination for Councilmember John Draymond by Councilmember Weaver, seconded by Councilmember Quintero, although
That's
we don't
me.
really need a second. Symbolic. I nominate Councilmember, all right. Now, are there any further nominations for the office of mayor?
I move nominations be closed.
Okay. We're going to proceed with a roll call if there's a, if that's okay with everyone.
Try it.
May I
See what
say,
happens.
should I mention whether I abstain?
No, don't you dare.
Now,
Or you're out.
Now, there are two cards, actually, and therefore oral are committed to this particular item, so I'll call them right now. Herbert Milano? Mr. Milano, do you anticipate needing more than 2 minutes? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kasakian, and members of the City Council and City staff. My name is Herbert Milano. Well, I guess you have preempted my presentation, but I want to thank first Mr. Najarian for the courteous manner in which you handled the post of mayor of the City of Glendale. Those of us who come here frequently have very much appreciated the courtesy in which you handled your office and the courtesy you extended to all of us, and I'm personally very appreciative of that. And of course, my original comment was going to be that, maybe we can establish a new tradition in Glendale that any councilman who's running for office should probably not be holding the office of mayor, because it gives an additional advantage as the ballot is presented to the voters, that as the occupation being mayor incumbent, and for those individuals who are not too apprised of the workings of Glendale, they'll say, well, if he's the mayor, we might as well vote him again. So perhaps one day we'll have an opportunity to have a truly independently elected mayor and have a little bit of separation of power here in Glendale. But it is my hope that since Mr. Weaver already has nominated Mr. Draymond, and of course Mr. Weaver was mayor just last year, it would be a fantastic thing to have Mr. Draymond serve, I think, in my opinion, and I know that many residents of Montrose and La Crescenta who work so very hard to get you elected, I think that you are, in a way, their native son, and it will be nice to see you, handling the gavel for the next year, and it is my hope that you accept and we move forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, next speaker is Michael Tehan.
Perhaps 30 seconds. I just wanted to express my appreciation to Mayor Najarian. I think that you've discharged your duties with distinction this last year. I think you've been very fair. Don't want to say fair and balanced, but I think that you have been. We haven't always agreed, but I think that you exemplify the notion that you don't have to agree with someone's point of view, to respect them, and to hold office, like I said, with distinction. Mayor, prospective Mayor Draymond, I wish you all the luck in the world. Should you choose to accept it, and be careful what you wish for.
That's a truism.
We have one more speaker, Mr. Clerk.
On this particular issue.
I had someone else being switched to.
Okay, Carlos Guerra.
Good evening, I'm Carlos Guerrero, Glendale Firefighters Association representative, Mayor, City Council, City staff. On behalf of the Glendale Firefighters Association, we want to thank the Honorable Mayor Najarian for his service to us this last year, his commitment to the community, and his vision of keeping Glendale a safe community. We appreciate it very much, and I know the citizens benefit greatly from all of your service. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more comments. Okay. There was a card. It wasn't for this particular item. Do you guys just want to wait until we take the vote? Yes?
Would you ask how many more cards?
Okay, all right. So let's proceed with at least this round of votes. How's that? All right. In alphabetical order. Council members Draymond,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Yusefian.
Aye.
All righty, I now declare Councilmember John Draymond the duly elected mayor of the city of Glendale.
Speech.
Well, good night, folks.
That's good, that's good.
Well, first of all, I would like to also express my thanks to Mayor Najarian. Every one of my colleagues sitting up here has served a term as mayor in this city and done so very well, I might add, as someone who has been an observer of council for many, many years. Many of you know who know me. My father started bringing me to these council meetings when I was 5. They were in the afternoon then, so I'm quite a long-standing observer of council, and this has been a great experience. This first year, working with some real professionals, and whatever we have accomplished, and I think it's a lot in this last year, whatever suggestions have been made and issues raised, good or bad, you had to run the ball. And I want you to know how much I appreciate that personally, and how much I appreciate your professionalism. I have the great opportunity now to present to you this plaque, which is presented to our James Najarian, dated April 2nd, 2007 through April 8th, 2008, with sincere gratitude for your guidance, leadership, and dedicated service. This date, April 8th, 2008.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may just have a short moment of time, I would like to thank all my colleagues on the dais, all the staff and department heads that work with us closely, and you, the members of the public. Sometimes it got a little heated up here. We were not ones to shy away from issues. We were ready to roll up our sleeves and dig into the issues, and sometimes dig into each other. But in the end, I think we all were working and are still working for the betterment of our city. And I thank you all, and I wish new Mayor Draymond the best of luck, patience, and wisdom as you lead our great city forward for the next year.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll need all of those things and more. We have quite a ways to go. I have some comments I'd like to make, and I have those here. And by the way, I guess I should officially welcome everyone and those watching to the Glendale 2008 redevelopment. Actually, not redevelopment. That was earlier, folks.
Oh, Freudian.
Believe me, that was Freudian. Organizational meeting, or as the council members up here like to call it, the passing of the bullseye. Last year, I'll start this way. Last year, we began with olive branches. So I'm going to try something here. Let's see how we do with a peace lily.
Those are going gravestones?
And, oh, wait a minute. For a potted plant, you know, you need a planter to put it in, so I brought a planter. Yeah, there we go.
The famous red wagon.
Now, if this plant dies, folks, this peace plant, we're in big trouble. So, Mr. City Clerk, I'm going to ask you if you could place this down there somewhere and keep an eye on it for the next year.
Let's see your thumb. Let's see your thumb.
My thumbs are not green, Mr. Yusefian,
gee,
but
that's
I
what
will
I
do
was
some
hoping
homework. All right. I've been noticing a great deal that my colleagues and the public and the staff has been quoting from the HBO special that's on right now about John Adams. And those of you that know me know that John Adams is my favorite founding father, and someone whose writings I read a lot and I quote a lot, which usually causes my friends to roll their eyes and walk away. Hopefully you will not do that at this moment. So lock the door, please, George. You're standing in the back. Thank you. There are only two creatures of value on the face of this earth, of any value, those with a commitment and those who require the commitment of others. John Adams, who was our second president and leading voice for American independence, wrote those words more than 200 years ago. His commitment referred to the literal and figurative commitment inherent in the relationship between our government and those it governs. He believed that the embodiment of this contract should live on in the relationship between each American citizen and their elected government. 1 year ago, the residents of this city made an historic and vocal statement at the polls about their vision for the future of Glendale. And so it is that at this time in Glendale's history, and with these council members, and over controversies sometimes issuing from this very council chambers, the future of Glendale's hillsides and canyons, residential neighborhoods and open spaces, our traditions as a city, and our history together as one people, and our hopes for the future would be summed up not by a mandate claimed by any one of us on this dais, but instead as expressed by our collective constituency that our elected leaders must work together on behalf of the people of Glendale. Last term was truly, and by any measure, a remarkably productive and dramatic year. Now, some local pundits have seemed surprised and confounded by the course of events witnessed here in the last year, the outcome of certain votes, and the increase in and the tenor of debate on this dais, as well as the change in direction which this city council and our local government has undertaken. Most of you, however, understand that this refocusing has been the result of our local government refreshing and rediscovering its skills in conducting the business of the people of Glendale through public discussion, persuasion by intelligent argument, and by learning to accommodate our differences. In short, our local government, like our population itself, has been experiencing the growing pains one would expect in a dynamic, vibrant, and diverse city. As my colleagues up here can tell you, it is an amazing privilege to serve this city. As mayor, it will be my responsibility then to work with this city council to continue to bring the voice of the people of Glendale to local government. I hope to inspire both my colleagues and my constituents so that together we can help local government heighten its sensibilities and sharpen its sensitivities, to continue to foster healthy and vigorous debate in our city, and to stand up for those who have not had a voice in local government due to ethnicity, geography, or apathy. In the coming days, I will seek consensus from my colleagues and their collective insight, wisdom, and experience to lead the way to a greater sense of governmental openness, civility, tolerance, goodwill, and opportunity for every citizen in every neighborhood of whatever ethnicity, so long as they all desire to contribute to the makeup, character, and traditions of Glendale. Toward this end, next week, I will announce some changes to the format of these proceedings. But for now, and to those who have steadfastly supported me in the pursuit of my vision for this city in the last year, and on whose shoulders I have had the great fortune to stand and be elevated to mayor, I thank you for your support. There is much personal significance in all of this for me. I assure you I have not forgotten who I am or where I came from, or the fact that one generation ago the events of this evening would have been unimaginable, if not impossible. To our hardworking and professional city staff, I must thank you. Thank you all for taking this journey with me and with my colleagues in the last year. I realize that it has not always been easy to support the one group of city employees who have no specific requirement for employment other than to get elected. Yet somehow you have managed it with grace and with professionalism. Your diligence and time away from your families, your considerable patience, and the long hours of dedicated service is well noted and greatly appreciated by all of us. And of course, there are my colleagues, my friends, Mr. Weaver, Mr. Yusefian, Mr. Quintero, and Mr. Najarian. What can I say about the five of us that hasn't been covered in any good psychology textbook? I think that it is entirely possible that in the last year we may have contributed a few new chapters. However, all kidding aside, I thank you for this honor, and I take this opportunity to address you directly as colleagues and friends. I respect you, and I appreciate our common interest in the betterment of this city. Your sense of commitment has honored the process about which John Adams wrote more than 2 centuries ago. You, all of you, have made a difference. And although we have much to do and a very busy year ahead, you have changed local government for the better. You honor me with your friendship and your belief that together we can and will rededicate ourselves to something quite unique and very special indeed, and that is an energized citizenry which expects excellence from us and who can inspire us if we allow them to do so. This evening represents an opportunity to move beyond our personal differences. It is a chance to wipe the slate clean and to start over, to take a new direction and to escape the simple definitions which have otherwise defined us in the past. We are blessed with the promise of renewal, and we must be open to that promise. Let us move forward into this term with a sense of purpose that recognizes that the power and trust and political capital invested in each of us as elected officials is meant to flow from the ground up, from ordinary citizens. So to these citizens, let us pledge our advocacy, not because it is the politically expedient thing to do, but because it is the right and fair and decent thing for all elected officials to do. We will not always agree. There will surely be differences of opinion ahead, but I ask for your patience. I ask for your participation, and I ask for your guidance as well, for when all is said and done, we as citizens of Glendale, and we as elected officials, all desire safe neighborhoods, good schools, and the quality of life which has caused us each to become stakeholders in this great city in the first place. Together we will educate each other. Together we will find common ground for the common good. 1 year ago, on this very council dais, I reminded the public and representatives of our local government alike that together we share a common stake in this city, its future, and how we are to be represented. That local government is supposed to be the most available form of representation for all the people of this great city. I want you to know that as your mayor, I only serve as an extension of your determination to participate as a partner in your city's future. I have immense gratitude and fondness for all of you. So now together, let us begin the work ahead. And I thank you again for this honor. Thank you. Mr. City Clerk, let's take this little red wagon out for a ride and see what's under the hood, shall we? So,
Okay.
let's have the next item.
Under Item 3, presentation on appointments. 3 is agenda preview for the meeting of April 15, 2008.
Thank you. Yeah. Bob, would you like to take the agenda preview for, or do you have a special presentation?
For a spin in the little red wagon?
Yes, please.
Actually, I will just do the agenda preview. We will be doing some other slide presentations on Rockhaven with a later report. But first, congratulations, Mr. Draymond.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to this next year. And I'm pleased to be the first item under your direction.
Thank you.
As routine as it may be. This is the agenda preview for the meeting of April 15th. That'd be next Tuesday. Continuing similar to this evening on both the Housing Authority and the Redevelopment Agency will be the selection of the new chair and vice chair for both of those bodies. On the City Council agenda, there are a number of items that will be considered by the Council next week. The first, the Director of Public Works will be coordinating the presentation of the Orange Line high-speed maglev project. This report will actually be provided by the Orange Line Development Authority. Secondly, the General Manager of Water and Power will be submitting a request authorizing the City Manager to enter into a contract for the evaluation proposals for the fabrication of the new Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, SCADA system. Next, the General Manager, GWP, will be presenting a report on bids received for tree trimming for utilities. And then lastly, the Director will be submitting a report on the Planning Application Process and Design Review Board exemptions with a motion provided direction to staff.
Thank you very much. I would like to make a little departure from the tradition from last term, and I'd like to ask Councilmember Najarian if he would like to make this proclamation. If you would care to read it for us and make that proclamation, I would appreciate that.
We're going to give it to you.
Yes, we are. We're going to make this presentation to Glendale Healthy Kids. And I know we have the representative of Glendale Healthy Kids. Oh, we have three. We're getting three for one.
You have to read it.
I'm sorry.
Relax, folks. We got it. Councilmember Najarian, if you would, please.
Okay. This is a proclamation. This is a carryover from
Let's have this on the record, then.
At 3B is the proclamation designating April 2008 as Glendale Healthy Kids Month.
Thank you.
This is a carryover from the previous administration, and it states as follows. Whereas since 1994, Glendale Healthy Kids, in collaboration with volunteer healthcare professionals, community members, and organizations, provides children of low-income, underinsured families with access to healthcare and health education. And whereas Glendale Healthy Kids is a unique partnership with the Glendale Unified School District, Glendale Memorial Hospital and Health Center, Verdugo Hills Hospital, Glendale Adventist Medical Center, the community, and those in need to provide no-cost health care to children. And whereas Glendale Healthy Kids recognizes and appreciates the rich cultural diversity of Glendale and has participated in over a dozen local health fairs and major community events, distributing educational and organizational materials translated in English, Armenian, Korean, and Spanish. And whereas almost 100 community members and over 200 healthcare professionals donate their time and energies for various health screenings, dental and optometry, and mental health services each year. And now, therefore, I, R. Najarian, the previous mayor of the city of Glendale, proclaim April 2008 as Glendale Healthy Kids Month and applaud the hard work and dedication of the Glendale Healthy Kids staff and volunteers in keeping our community's youth healthy and strong. Glendale appreciates the contributions and presence of Glendale Healthy Kids in our city and in the lives of our families.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, on behalf of our past president and our current president, thank you so much. We look forward to continuing to partner with you all as we move forward to serve Glendale's kids. And let's have some fun. Come join us May 14th for the Taste of Downtown Glendale. Thank
Your
you.
name and introduce everyone.
I'm Camille Levy. I am the Executive Director of Glendale Healthy Kids. Kathleen Powers, our current president, and Kathy Keene, a past president, and still active volunteer.
Thank you all. Once again. Mr. City Clerk, could we have the item at 3C?
3C is a nomination assignment for the Planning Commission. It's Councilmember Quintero. And item number 4 is City Council and staff comments. Yes.
Fast. I'd like to put in nomination for next week, Alex Tyler, for appointment to the Glendale Water Power Commission.
Thank you.
Alex Tyler.
Tyler. Mr. Najarian.
Mr. Mayor, I would also like to place on next week's agenda the appointment of Mr. John Gantis, a two-term commissioner, eligible for a third term on the Civil Service Commission.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Now let's take a crack at item 4.
City Council and staff comments.
Do we have any? Mr. Weaver.
Yes, sorry I wasn't here last week. I guess everybody in the city has heard by now. 7 days and 25 minutes ago, my granddaughter was born. I guess I'm the only one up here that can say he's a grandfather. Is that right?
Well, considering that I'm not married, sir, I better not be the one.
We know of the people that asked about pictures to see her. I would have been here in the afternoon. I asked the doctor what was her ETA, and he said 4:30. So I took the afternoon off, and she didn't arrive till 6:40. I had received an email from Mr. Starburst congratulating me on my granddaughter being born. I sent an email back that said she's not born yet. And as soon as I hung up, my wife called me and said she's born. So I sent him another one. She was born. 7 pounds, 1 ounce. And somebody in the office, Mr. Najarian, told me that's exactly what you weighed when you were born. And I just hope my granddaughter turns out a little more slender. No offense.
Jeez. That is cold, Mr. Weaver.
Oh, I know. You're no longer the man.
I'll take it in the spirit of his gift.
You talk about peace, and look what happens.
Didn't last too long.
And Lily just dropped a leaf. Let's find a place for this on the end of the dais, please.
There she is.
This is about 3.5 hours after she was born. And then the second one was taken 3 days after she was born. 21.5 inches long. She's Swiss German, Filipino Hawaiian, and Polish Salvadorian. So we don't know. I call her chop suey. We really don't know what's come out. My wife's family just arrived from Hawaii and arrived at the house while you were giving your goodbye speech in the other room there. So I'll be anxious to get home and see the family too. Tomorrow we're going to take a picture of 4 generations. My mother-in-law, my wife, my daughter, and granddaughter. That's kind of a rare one to take.
Congratulations, Mr. Weaver.
It's what I call a little miracle that my daughter gave my wife and I. And as many movies as you can watch and everything, until it happens to you, it's almost magical. It's hard to believe when it happens. So there's a lot of happy campers at my house right now. So thank you. A little more serious note, I've asked staff before, and I'd like to again, with the Americana opening, Broadway and Brand, I think ought to be a 4-way walk, a scramble, whatever you call it. There's going to be so much traffic at that intersection. We have to wait, making turns, whatever, while people are crossing the street. It'll be tough. So like Pasadena at a busy intersection, if we could stop all the traffic, get the pedestrians diagonal, whatever, across, and then go, I think traffic would move much faster. I'd like to know why that can't be done. And the second thing relating to that, I think we ought to remove all the parking on Harvard between Brand and Maryland. People coming from the east part of Glendale are not going to come down Brand and Broadway to get to the Americana. We're going to come down Glendale Avenue, whatever, and come across Harvard. It's a straight shot into the garage from there. you're eliminating 2 or 3 parking spaces on each side. It might make the traffic flow a lot smoother. So that I would like to see done, if it's possible. It can be, it's just a question of looking at how the traffic flows. And the third, one third item that I promised former Mayor Najarian I would speak to. In hindsight, I regret that 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, that when the informational item on what we do for the school district was on the agenda, that I left. It was the last item. I did not think I need to be reminded of how much we do for the school district. Why I regret it is because the next day, Greg Krikorian called me and thanked me for leaving, and that we got to work together. Okay. Then on Thursday, another rumor mill starts that Greg was going around town telling people that I agree with him. And as I told the mayor, that is not true. I gave the reason why I left. I knew enough, I didn't need to. I know we do a lot for the school district. I do not agree with Mr. Krikorian's assessment. I didn't care for the back and forth banner went on. Now I found this, I was cleaning up. Here's Glendale City Council joint meeting with the Unified School District, August 2007. We meet with them. City manager meets with Mr. Escalante. What, weekly basis, every couple of weeks, Mr. Starbird? As mayor, Mr. Brennan will find that he can sit down with the leadership of the college and the school district and discuss issues. We don't operate in a vacuum. There's a lot of things that we do together. We all know it, and we'll continue to work together. We do not need to put ourselves at loggerhead the way this thing started out. So I told Mr. Najarian I would make that comment here today because he was not a happy camper thinking that I was on the other side, and that's not true. So that's it. Thank you, Mayor Draymond, for the time.
You're welcome, sir. Councilmember Quintero.
Personally congratulate you, Mr. Draymond.
Thank you.
We've known each other for a long time, and it's an honor that's well-deserved. You've spent a lot of time working for the city as well as your dad, and so I'm very happy to see you in the post. And thank you, Mr. Najarian. You had an excellent year. I know how hard it is to be a mayor. I don't know how hard it is to be the mayor when you've got 2 young kids. So. But it takes an awful lot of time, and I always like to say if a city council member doesn't show up to a function, not that big a deal, but if the mayor doesn't show up, it is a big deal. So you always try to make all of the different nonprofit groups, functions, and so anyway, I know you've had it's been a long year, but I think it's been very successful. And I'm looking forward to you chairing the meetings, Mr. Draymond. It's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure.
Yes, as someone out there said earlier, be careful what you wish for. So, Councilmember Najarian.
Thank you, Mayor Draymond. I received a couple letters I'd like to bring to the attention of the first 2 Public Works. It's from Nico Lewin. Dear Mr. Najarian, my name is Nico, and I'm 6 years old. I take my brother to school every day with my bike. There are big cracks in the road on Glenwood and Sonora in Glendale. Can you please have it fixed because it's very dangerous? Thank you. Signed, Nico Lewin. That's Glendale and Glenwood, and Sonora. I'm not sure if he means the road or the sidewalk, but thank you. It was nice to receive a letter from a 6-year-old. I received, again, a pair of letters from 2 very considerate students who attend Franklin Elementary School. Apparently they are having their Franklin Fiesta on April 11th, Friday, outside on the playground from 4 to 7 p.m. Apparently they're going to have a lot of food, a Western theme, a lot of games, a beanbag toss that's really difficult, and the money goes to the PTA's account. And thank you, Jackson Bramlett and Daniel Frick. I will try to make it there. And thank you for writing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do you have any other, Mr. Starbird?
Mr. Mayor, on my behalf, I'd like to publicly thank former mayor and Councilmember R. Najarian for his service. It has been tremendous working with you, and on behalf of myself and the staff, thank you for your support in everything we've undertaken. It's been a very busy year. And to Mayor Draymond, we look forward to working with you. Congratulations. Thank you especially for your kind and gracious comments about the role of staff here. We greatly appreciate that. On behalf of the over 2,000 men and women who serve in all the departments of the city and serve the over 200,000 residents of Glendale, we look forward to working with you and serving you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, and thank you to the staff as well. If there are no other comments, let's move on.
Item 5 is consent items, including minutes following our routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before a motion is proposed. And there was one card.
Okay.
Pull an item.
I do have one card, so let me...
5B.
This is for 5B. So, actually, let's stop for a moment. I believe 5D has, B, like boy, has been pulled anyway. It's been taken off calendar.
All
So,
right, then I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
is that correct?
Got some note about 5.
I got a note saying
I
5.
received a note, a letter, I should say.
I think that was a closed session item.
Closed session.
Was off calendar.
All right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not
So we
aware
will
of.
Oh, you
pull-
have a card.
We will pull 5B, and we have
5D.
B like boy.
He isn't boy.
5B is being pulled. Okay.
Then I'll move the consent calendar without B,
Okay.
Okay, very good.
if there's a second.
Mr. City Clerk.
There was a second.
There was a second.
Mr. City Clerk.
Council members, Council members Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Yusefian,
Aye.
Mayor Draymond.
Yes. All right. Let's
I
hear
have to vote first from now on?
Yes, you do.
Yes, alphabetical.
Tough one, huh?
Could we hear the item at 5B, please?
5B is interim fire chief, chief of police regarding fiscal year 2007 State Homeland Security Grant Program. At B1 is a resolution appropriating $790,401,000 for emergency preparedness related programs.
Okay. I have one card, and that is from Richard Espiritu.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
City Council and staff, I am Dr. Richard Espiritu. I don't really have any problems, but I would like some questions answered regarding the separation of funds here. It appears that the Glendale Police Department is going to receive $112,900 for items that appear to be very essential and necessary for the operation of the Glendale Police Department regarding items such as medical first aid kits. It's about 14% of the $790,000. There is $32,900 surgical capacity shelter, field medical shelter, which is an interesting thing because I just started the CERT program, and one of the things they're very interested in is first aid and life-saving capacity. But the interesting question that I have, and I would like to have an answer to this, is there's $500,000, 63%, is being spent for a regional training site development and training props. Operative word is training props. The dummies that are used in automobile accidents to determine how much damage there is if a person was there is approximately $25,000. What are we spending $500,000, $500,000 for? Thank you.
I would just like to correct one thing, Dr. Espiritu. We no longer refer to them as dummies. They are inanimate engineers. Mr. Howard.
Mr. Clerk, get the peace plant back up again.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council staff. The $500,000 that we are asking to receive on a grant is for the continuation of the development of the Shoal Canyon Regional Training Facility. And that facility be utilized for fire, police, public works, GWP, and in probably 20 years from now, it will be fully developed. We're going to develop it slowly, work in conjunction with Steve Zern and Public Works folks, along with LA County Sanitation District. Progress is going very, very well. These monies that are here, the $500,000, are for types of things that we can buy that will assist us in training. We can't use any of the monies for any concrete and mortar type construction, so no infrastructure, but for things that we would utilize for our USAR program, for our hazmat program, to continue in our development and preparation for disasters that may come our way.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, a little supplement. You'll recall in the CIP program we have the local component of this, approximately $500,000 for construction of the infrastructure, the concrete pad, the utilities to that, what little bit of service buildings there'll be on the site. So this is really the federal grant match. You have another component in the CIP you just recently approved.
Thank you. Mr. Yusefi.
$500,000 for regional training site development and training props. How much of that $500,000 is for training props, and how much of it is for the training site development?
Well,
you can't spend for brick and mortar.
Correct.
What are you going to use that, and how much of that?
We can't use, again, any of it for infrastructure development, but we will use all of it for the props, the training materials, and for the development of those training materials that we'll use. So program development, we could use it for that. And we'll use it all.
Be mostly software?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily software or a training program.
Give me
like
some
that.
examples. I'm not a firefighter.
Okay. These would be types of things. Here's a good example. We have equipment that we would use to stop a chlorine leak from a chlorine cylinder, and there's training kits that we use. So we can actually purchase a chlorine cylinder, either 1 ton or larger or smaller, that are utilized in the water distribution system and in other types of industrial systems. And so we could buy that training prop with that and then utilize that for our hazardous material team.
Okay, got it. Okay. So how much of this $500,000 you're using for regional site development? The site development part of it is that's confusing me.
Right. And on the site,
what do you use for the
site development funds that we could use would be in the design of the facility
so to draw it, engineering.
Correct.
Okay.
Those types
costs.
of things.
Okay, got it.
At the point that we're ready to do some of that work, and again, we're working with Public Works.
And that's allowed?
Pardon me?
That's allowed?
Yes, it is.
All right. We have no other questions?
I'll move 5B1.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Clerk.
Council members Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Yusefian,
Aye.
Mayor Draymond.
Yes. Next item, please.
6 is oral communication. Discussion is limited time. Is not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to a speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. City manager, mayor for the matter to the appropriate department for an investigation and a report.
Okay, thank you very much. We have just a few cards, so...
3 minutes.
These are... Oh, I'm being informed there's more to the story, folks. All right.
Here comes more.
All right, we're collecting. All right, we will stick with the tradition for tonight of the 3-minute and 5-minute, so let's see how we do. These are the folks who have voluntarily agreed to, or volunteered to take a priority with their moment at the podium and speak for no more than 3 minutes, although they're entitled to speak to 5 if they should like to do so without priority. So we'll start with those. Ivan Cole, please. There's Ivan Cole. That'll be followed by Rainbow Rainbow Yung.
Evening, everyone. And the new mayor, Raymond, and council members.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, could you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Ivan Cole.
Thank you.
Resident of 10,040 Wentworth Street, Shadow Hills, and was responsible for managing and maintaining the Rock Haven grounds for 34 years, from 1963 to 1997. Thank you for your votes that saved the Rock Haven property from potential destruction. A special thanks go to Mayor John Draymond, who at that time was a council member, for his leadership in this effort, and Mike Lawless, President of the Historical Society of the Crescenta Valley, support. I had great pride and commitment to maintain this beautiful place with its beautiful grounds, which help bring an aesthetic, tranquil environment to the residents, visitors, and staff. Needless to mention the owner, Mrs. Agnes M. Richards, and Administrator Pat Travis, or Patricia Travis, I should say. Mrs. Agnes Richards and Administrator Pat Travis. Two most meaningful events during my tenure were Mrs. Richards' receipt of the Los Angeles Beautiful Community Award in October 1996, and Miss Travis' receipt of the Glendale Beautiful Award, date not recalled. This valuable open space site had 20-plus California native oaks and maybe one to 200 years of growth or more. My professor from a horticultural class assessed the age of a cut oak stump with the instrument which measured the profile of the cut stump and estimated it to be approximately 300 years old. When cut down, that is, of course, much before my time. Look forward to seeing this beautiful open space used to its maximum potential. Thank you. I am most grateful for all you have done for Rock Haven's survival and the new future for Rock Haven. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cole, and thank you for taking care of that property. I'd also just like to comment that although I appreciate the thank you, this was, as you all know and my colleagues know, this was not something that was completed by me alone by any means. You will note that there was a 5-0 unanimous vote on this, and although there was discussion and debate, that was the good part. We thrashed through it and opted to preserve that property, which I'm grateful for, but it was hardly my work. It was this council's work. Thank you, though. Rainbow, is it Jung? Jung, thank you. Followed by Sharon Weissman.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members, city staff, and community members. My name is Rainbow Young. I'm with the South Coast Air Quality Management District, AQMD. Congratulations, Mayor Draymond, on your new position. I have recently been assigned as a liaison to your city and your neighboring cities, so I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself to your entire council and put a face on my agency. As many of you know, the AQMD is the government agency responsible for leading this region into compliance with state and federal cleaner standards. Our work is directed by a governing board comprised of 10 local elected officials and 3 state-level appointees. Supervisor Michael Antonovich represents your county, and Councilmember Michael Caccioli of South Pasadena represents your county cities in the eastern region. And let me update you on some of our current programs and air quality issues. Let's start with some good news. California Air Resources Board has recently approved funding allocation for $1 billion from Prop 1B, which was approved by voters in 2006. And this region, that is the LA Inland Empire, will get $550 million for goods movement and emission reduction programs, and these funds may go to a local government, a commission, or other entities. And in the meantime, I've been keeping your staff informed of our funding opportunities, such as funding for cleanup of off-road diesel engines, palm oil funding for purchasing low-emission heavy-duty engines, and coming up we'll have funding available for fleet modernization and school bus program. And in terms of some interesting programs and our lawnmower exchange program, and I know your city has helped promote this program, and maybe because partly because of your enhanced outreach, all the mowers were sold out. Our governing board has approved additional 750 mowers last Friday, and guess what? You know, they were all sold out this morning. So we'll continue to keep your city informed of these programs which are beneficial to your community members. And also, we have recently launched a web service called Find, Facility Information Detailed, that gives users detailed information on the more than 26,000 businesses and industrial facilities that we regulate. So residents who want easy access to information about facilities and air pollution in their neighborhoods can go to our website, www.aqmd.gov. And last but not the least, our air quality complaint hotline is 1-800-CUSMOG, which is 288-7664. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to working closely with you and your staff in the near future. I've brought some information packages for you that include my card, and please consider me as a resource. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Councilmember Najarian.
Yes.
The 1-800-CUT-SMOG number, is that still good if you see a car that's polluting on the street?
Yes.
You call and you report
Yes.
a license plate and the location?
Yes. Even if you can't recall all the numbers, all the information, we can track down the vehicle, and then we send them a letter.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sharon Weissman, followed by Leon Mayer.
Thank you, Mayor Draymond, Councilman, staff, and everyone listening. I'm Sharon Weissman from far north Glendale, and I'm here on behalf of Population Connection, and I'd like to invite you to a special event on Sunday, April 13th, starting at 4:15 p.m. We feel it will be particularly interesting to all of those who are concerned about the condition of the earth, because we feel overpopulation is a root cause for many environmental issues. John Seeger, President of Population Connection, and Bob Gillespie, President of Population Communication, will speak about global overpopulation and its relationship to environmental and other quality of life issues. There will be a benefit screening of Michael Tobias's award-winning documentary, No Vacancy, which highlights positive solutions to overpopulation around the world. The film's website notes that if current world population trends were to continue, human numbers could more than double, hitting 13 billion sometime in the 22nd century. A population explosion of such magnitude would be ecologically disastrous. No Vacancy is that rare chronicle of sobering optimism in a world more accustomed to thinking about population as a dilemma with little hope of positive reversal. Family planning professional Bob Gillespie's journey around the world in search of answers provides an extraordinary window on those remarkable changes occurring in country after country. New currents that have resulted in smaller family sizes and the empowerment of women and children. From Iran, Mexico, Ghana, and Nigeria to countries across Western Europe, as well as the United States, India, China, and Indonesia, No Vacancy paints an emotional, at times provocative portrait of a global transformation, a fertility transition that may well prove to be one of the most important ingredients in humanity's survival and the survival of the earth. Please join us at the historic Rialto Theater, 1023 Fair Oaks Avenue, South Pasadena. Free parking is available behind the theater. Admission is $5 for adults and free for any students. Food and drinks will be provided, and I have some flyers I can share with them. And I have more if anybody in the audience wants it, and thank you for your time, and thank you for Rock Haven. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Leon Mayer, please, followed by Alan Freeman.
Good evening, Mayor Najarian. Congratulations on your becoming mayor. Mayor Draymond.
Mr. Mayor.
Members of the council, staff. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Glendale Public Library, and we have our events at the Central Auditorium. And next week is National Library Week. And we're having a double header next week. We're having two great speakers. One is Nina Hachigian, and the other is Gregory Rodriguez. And we invite everybody who's interested in coming to see Nina Hachigian to come next Tuesday. Next Tuesday. I hope we don't take too many of your audience away next Tuesday, but we do urge people to come next Tuesday who are interested in a great author we're going to have at the library. She's on the Council of Foreign Relations. She's written an interesting book called The Next American Century: How the U.S. Can Thrive While Other Nations Rise. And she's been with the Council of Foreign Relations, with the RAND Corporation. She graduated from Yale, then came out to Stanford, went to law school there, became a member of the bar, and she's been noted across the country. She was on the Sam Donaldson program, Bill Maher, Tavis Smiley. She's been publicized for her work and for this particular book that she's written, which is a very interesting book. It involves a path that she sees that the United States can take with Russia, China, Europe, and Japan and India, how the world economy is going to be such an important matter for a thriving world economy over the next 100 years, that we all have an interest in working together on that. So that's next Tuesday, 7 o'clock at the library. Now we have another famous person on Thursday, and that is Gregory Rodriguez. Oh, incidentally, Nina is getting close to Glendale. She lives in Echo Park. As far as next Thursday, that's the 17th. Gregory Rodriguez came to Glendale at age 4, went to elementary school, Woodrow Wilson Middle School, graduated from the high school, then went on to college. And those of you who haven't heard about him, he's a nationally known columnist, correspondent, and he's written a book, and I have it here, it's about Mexican immigration and the impact on our country, and the title of the book is Mongrels, Bastards, Orphans, and Vagabonds. And it's quite a book, and this is going to be quite an event, and he is well known. He's been on all the TV, national TV. He's been a columnist. He's actually been a columnist for The Economy magazine, what they call The Economist, which is a world-known magazine, and he'll be there Thursday at 7 o'clock. We urge everybody to come there on Thursday. If you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them at this time.
Yes, tell them the name of the book again, Mr. Mayor.
I'm going to refuse on the Fifth Amendment on that.
It happens to be the same title that Mr. Allen uses when he describes the council very often. So.
In any event, these flyers that I have are available at the library for both these events, as well as information about joining the Friends, our newsletter. It's all available to Friends. If you want in, raise your hand as I leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alan Freeman.
Mayor Draymond, council members. Mayor Draymond, I just wanted to come tonight and share our congratulations and echo many of the comments here before, including Mr. Quintero's. It is well deserved, and look forward to a great year here in Glendale under your leadership as mayor. Also to former Mayor Najarian, thank you for your leadership the past year, as mentioned by many folks, and well received. It was under a great amount of professionalism all year long, and as a resident of Glendale for many years, and as a teacher here, we follow it quite closely, and we want to thank you as well. Mr. Mayor, I did want to share that your comments, or your quote from President Adams, hit a chord, and your speech earlier was very well prepared. It did strike a chord with me. In particular, the fact that you spoke about your colleagues and and how passionate they are for our city, and it's recognized by many of us as teachers, and through the ins and the outs, it's always with the desire to make our great city better. And I look forward to that being the goal, and as it has been, and it's well recognized. As teachers, that's our goal, is to make not only our students better each and every day when it comes to their skills and citizens that we can all be proud of. And I think we all are on the same page there. So I wish you all the best this coming year. Mr. Mayor, good luck, and thanks again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. We now come to the 5-minute installment. So let's start with Dr. Richard Espiritu, followed by Les Hammer.
Once again, good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and staff. I am Dr. Richard Espiritu. This is the BC report on the TRC report. Interesting question. Somebody never asked me what BC stands for, so.
I'm asking, what does that mean?
Bus checker.
Okay. And what is TRC?
TRC is the Transit Resource Consultants. This is our independent consulting firm.
People know.
This was their standard thing. They found out that 6 of the 13 buses that they examined once again had defects which need immediate attention. It also stated that Mr. Jesse Salvadro was made totally aware of this. One of the interesting things is I was told by the staff that this was a very good audit as compared to the November 7th audit. November 7th had 132. This time in February we had 126. That's 6 deficits less than we had before, so maybe they're getting better.
Thank you.
This is a scale showing the number of deficits by the 6 different times that the TRC did the reports on this. Goes up, goes down, and now it's spiking, and there's a little bit of a change. This is a very interesting comment that was made because TRC also reviewed the interior and exterior for damage. TRC, not me, stated that they deemed the damages inside excessive, needs immediate repair. It is also stated that such items as sharp edges should be repaired immediately to eliminate potential body damage. Who cares? Liquidated damages. This is per the original contract and also per the new contract that was signed, addendum 4. Defects cited by the city maintenance mechanics and or its designee will be charged as liquidated damages in accordance with the following schedule. The following schedule is rather lengthy. If we take a look at the total number of defects, from the entire beginning period of TRC to date, the A defects, MV Transportation owes $19,000. For the B deficits, $59,000, which is a total of $78,000. That does not include the $250 late liquidated damages for wheelchair lifts that are not operational per day, or the air conditionings that are inoperative. Mr. Howard, later on I'm going to ask you a question. This is the number of Beeline buses that were examined in the February audit. According to my information, 7 of these buses that are here have inoperable or improperly working fare box units. City appears to be losing some money there. One of the questions that I'd like to ask Mr. Howard is, what forms do I fill out, considering the IRS does have whistleblower fields, and I know they get 10% for funds that belongs to somebody else, so I'd like to know what form I'm supposed to fill out, because I will fill out one of these forms. Thank you very much for your time and consideration on the Beeline buses.
Thank you. Mr. Hammer, followed by Herbert Milano.
Les Hammer, Pasadena. A few years ago, I stopped at the Glendale Library on my way home and fell asleep, only to be rousted by a security guard. Since then, I've thought many times about all of the things that you cannot do in the nanny state of Glendale. Let's see, don't build a fence in your front yard, don't chop down an oak tree, don't feed the pigeons, don't fire up the grill, don't sleep in the library, don't smoke outside a restaurant, and don't use your engine brakes on the freeway. But if you want to hire an illegal alien, that's what the city is here for, to aid and abet illegal immigration and aid and abet tax evasion. I'm speaking, of course, of the Day Labor Center. I have a question for the city attorney. Let's see if he answers it. How many employers who drive to the center hand out tax forms or pay payroll taxes, Social Security, and workers' compensation? And how many so-called skilled workers file state and federal tax returns? So much for an answer. It's ironic that the council spends $20,000 in city funds and $80,000 in federal block grant funds for a day labor center that most laborers will not use because they would rather loiter in front of Dunn Edwards and Home Depot. And of course, you were sued by the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Education Fund, a militant, racist, and separatist organization with an agenda called La Reconquista, and which gets most of its funding from the Ford Foundation. As we say in conservative circles, follow the money. You were sued by MALDEF and taken all the way to the Supreme Court for a no loitering ordinance that, for a time at least, you were not enforcing. And this whole business of contracting with a third party, Catholic Charities, to keep your hands clean smacks of money laundering. On The Sopranos, it's called racketeering. And worst of all, you are not only screwing the taxpayers, you are screwing legitimate businesses in your own city. If I owned a business in the city of Glendale, what incentive would I have to obey the law and play by the rules when you aren't? None. If I owned a business here, I'd cook the books, underreport employees and income, and work under the table, just like everyone at the Day Labor Center. I could ask you to shut down the Day Labor Center or turn it over lock, stock, and barrel to Catholic Charities and get the taxpayers off the hook. I wish that you would do the honorable and patriotic thing and shut down the Day Labor Center. Until then, you are aiding and abetting illegal immigration and aiding and abetting tax evasion. I urge citizens and local residents to get the license plate numbers of so-called employers at the Day Labor Center and report them to the Department of Labor or Internal Revenue. The toll-free number for the Department of Labor is 800-347-3758. That's 800-347-3758. And the toll-free number for Internal Revenue is 800-829-0433. That's 800-829-0433. And a final note, in his inaugural address, Mayor Draymond invoked the spirit of John Adams, who I believe said, "Dare to speak, read, write, and think." Wouldn't he dare you to stand up for your country? I think if Mr. Adams was still here, he would tell you that there's something more important than your jobs and your careers and your reputation, and that's your country. When you lose your country, you've lost everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hammer. Herbert Milano, please.
Mayor,
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to correct
Mr. Yusefian.
the record. Last year, we did not fund through CDBG the Labor Center. This year, also, the committee has recommended not to fund it, so I just wanted the record clear.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Milano, followed by Nancy Kent.
Good evening, Mayor Draymond, members of the City Council, City staff. My name is Herbert Milano. It was a special pleasure to hear such a eloquent speech from you, Mayor Draymond, and it was so encouraging to hear and an honor to John Adams in the process. It is my hope that the spirit of our founding fathers can guide you during the following year, and it is my hope that we experience the type of transparency that I know you can bring to this process. Earlier today, representatives of many nonprofits came before you to plead for financial support, especially as it came to a decision of the funds that are available from the Community Development Block Grants, the money that comes from the Housing and Urban Development, the federal money. These social service organizations are today underfunded by $650,000, precisely at the time when the economy is at its worst, when the most families at risk are in the most dire need. These organizations are the organizations that support our youth, that provide youth after-school programs, that provide assistance to the elderly, that provide assistance to families at risk. And overall, dollar for dollar, any assistance that are given to these organizations are significantly more effective than the monies that generally come afterwards. Because, for example, money that goes to youth services, if for prevention of potential problems, it's money that we don't have to spend on police, money that we don't have to spend on courts, money that we don't have to spend on prisons. It's significantly much more cost-effective to provide money to these organizations when the volunteers are not asking for a high salary, when the volunteers are not asking for a pension, when the sheer joy of assisting those in need is recompense enough for them. And it is for this reason that I would like to encourage this City Council to allocate this year and in future years 0.5% of the general fund to provide these organizations with true sustainability. Because the way things are going now with a significant federal deficit, these monies that come from the federal government through HUD are not sustainable year to year. We've seen the reductions continually, and these organizations need sustainability at least to its very minimum. And I believe that if this City Council commits to 0.5%, the return on that investment in the future savings with regard to police and additional mandated social services would be very, very significant. And I think that it is time that a city with $700 million in its budget, and during the next 4 years you probably have a decision on possibly close to $3 billion, that we take off the general fund, a portion of that amount, and take only 0.5% to commit yourselves to the social services that pay so handsomely for those individuals who are in the most precarious need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. Mr. Quintero.
Yeah, I just want to make the comment that I'm also watching John Adams, and I really feel Thomas Jefferson is getting a really, I don't know, he's just kind of getting slammed there. I just want you to keep your I want you to keep your minds open to Thomas Jefferson and all he had to do with the Constitution. And incidentally, he was for less government, and John Adams was for more government. He was a Federalist, after all. That's all. I had to get that off my chest.
All right.
I was born and raised in the South, and Thomas
Powdered wigs are beginning to fly, folks.
Maybe someday they'll do a series called Thomas Jefferson.
They should.
I'm sure if you keep plugging away, they'll write a book about him, too. Okay, Nancy Kent, please, followed by Margaret Hammond.
Congratulations, Mayor Draymond.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Nancy Kent. I'm a resident of Glendale, and I would like to speak about something that I believe you're voting on next week, resolution in support of the Korean-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. Well, you're voting on in the future. International trade is good. Everyone is in favor of trade, and Koreans are good. My next-door neighbors are Korean, and they're wonderful people. But please do not do a city council resolution to support the Korean-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. Instead, support the right of municipal elected officials to make land use decisions and other decisions without fearing that a company in Korea will claim that your decision is a barrier to free trade or an unfair trade practice. I have read that the Korean-U.S. Free Trade Agreement is patterned after the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and does not resolve the concerns people have about NAFTA's dispute resolution procedure. I emailed you a summary of a few of the cases that have resulted from NAFTA, plus a rather lengthy report about NAFTA cases. Like the case about the toxic waste landfill, the American company Metalclad could not get a municipal permit to have a toxic waste landfill on land it owned in Mexico, and due to the free trade agreement, NAFTA, Metalclad claimed that this constituted a taking and claimed the Mexican federal government owed it $90 million. It was a complicated case, but 3 years later, the NAFTA panel, not a court, but a private arbitration panel, fined the Mexican federal government over $15 million. Another case was the complaint by UPS against the Canadian federal government that it's an unfair trade practice that Canada has a federal postal service. Another NAFTA free trade case was the Canadian company Methanex claiming it was a taking that it lost its profit when the state of California ordered the chemical MTBE to be phased out as a gasoline additive after MTBE seeped out of underground gasoline tanks and forced the city of Santa Monica to stop using some of its water wells because of this potentially carcinogenic gasoline additive that also gives drinking water an unpleasant taste and odor. Methanex claimed $970 million from the U.S. federal government for this taking. A taking because it could no longer sell this chemical in California for this purpose. Our federal government has already spent over $3 million for this case to defend the California regulation to stop adding MTBE to gasoline. These free trade cases are decided by private arbitration panels and undermine our judicial system. Trade agreements are done by federal governments, but they involve local issues like water and land use, and not in a good way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Question from our city attorney. If my recollection is correct, right after I got elected, I think a year or so, there was some issue with the NAFTA. And we wrote letters to our legislature and we took some action. Did anything come off of that?
In 2001, this council adopted a resolution opposing extending NAFTA to what was then termed the Free Trade Agreement of the Americas, FTAA. That FTAA never got past Congress. And the main reason for the council adopting that resolution was the expropriation language in what is called Chapter 11 of NAFTA, which, by the way, somewhat mirrors, it's slightly different, but it somewhat mirrors the language in the Chorus FTA, which I'll talk more about in 2 weeks. But the action you took was to send a resolution to Congress opposing extending NAFTA to the FTA, primarily because of the expropriation language in Chapter 11. And FTAA, to my knowledge and my latest research, it was never adopted.
Thank you.
Okay. Margaret Hammond, followed by Mike Morgan.
Good evening, and congratulations, Mr. Draymond, Mayor Draymond, and thanks to Councilman Najarian for a great year. Sometimes exciting and sometimes more than exciting. But for your good manners, mostly, only one time, did I find fault with you, and that's over and done. But anyway, my name is Margaret Hammond, and I would like to address a couple of things. By the way, your dad's looking great. Number one, I am back to thinking about this idea that I brought up this afternoon about the allocation for the CDBG funds, and the fact that we have a pool coming to us that was taken away from us when Pacific Park was done over and made into a cement parking lot or whatever. And as I said before, the tennis courts, the after-school care, all the wonderful things that were in that park, and the beautiful trees that were all taken out. Anyway, and I do believe that we have that pool coming, and that the money that the allocation for the $1.2 million should be kept that way, and that the money should not be given to purchase a warehouse outside of our city and for whatever purpose. Why? That money, and Councilman Najarian promised us a pool, and I'm going to keep reminding him, and that we have it coming. The other thing is, as far as the money for the graffiti, if you lived where I live, or at least not up where I live, but having to go from here to where I live on Adams Hill and see the graffiti, I mean, there's a lot of it around. And as fast as they try to get it off of there, paint it over, or do whatever, it seems like it appears. I don't know about where the rest of you live, but I know I personally find it very offensive. And I think that whatever we need to keep that graffiti off of there and get rid of it as soon as possible is the best way to go. And if we need that money to go and take care of it, then I think that's what we should do. The other thing is, I do have something, and it's about a baby shower, and this is for 14 military moms that would be at Camp Pendleton, which last year I was involved in. And my friend lives in Lake Forest, and their women's group down there, they are doing a shower on Saturday, April the 26th, and it will be for 14 military moms, whether they're in the service or the wives of servicemen. As you all know, the servicemen do not get a lot of money, and they need help. Many of them have small children already, and we would appreciate anything that you can do to help us with this, the shower for these young ladies that are expecting pretty soon. Some of them may have it before the shower, which is April the 26th. If you want to contribute in any way, you can call me, and my number is 818-242-7334. And my friend who lives in Lake Forest, her phone number is 949-837-6403. And it was a wonderful event last year. We gave them cribs, diapers, and some people have already come to me and given money, cash, to go to be able to purchase more. They buy it in bulk from various places, Babies and Us or whatever. I don't do that personally. I just go along and help them tote it. I don't get into the purchasing of it. So if anybody would like to, would you please call me? It's a very worthwhile. They really appreciate it. And if I'd known, if I could have got home, I haven't been home since 9 o'clock this morning, I would have worn my hat that you gave me from last year. I didn't mean to, and I'm sorry about that, but maybe I'll wear it next week. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you. Michael Morgan, followed by Mike Lawler.
Congratulations, Mayor Draymond.
Thank you.
Thank you, former Mayor Najarian, City Council, staff, and Mr. Starbird. My name is Mike Morgan. I'm a 53-year resident of Glendale, and on behalf of Crescenta Valley Heritage and many Glendale residents and myself, I would like to thank the City Council and Mr. Starbird for the thoughtful purchase of Rock Haven. As this is coming up in Action Item 8A, I hope I'm not too premature. This 3.5-acre property with mature oaks and quaint bungalows will be a fantastic asset both to the citizens of Glendale and the city. Rock Haven, with its park-like setting and historic structures, will come to be a treasured destination for all of Southern California. Again, I would like to thank you, City Council. You have made an old man very happy and very proud to be a Glendale resident. Thank you again.
Thank you. Mike, excuse me, one moment.
Mike, you're not an old man.
He was speaking of you, Mr. Yusefian.
Well, that's what I was thinking. To my kids, I am, though. You're 53 and I'm 51, so we're not old, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Mike Lawler, followed by Lisa Bubari.
All right. My name is Mike Lawler from La Crescenta. I'm the president of the Historical Society of the Crescenta Valley. It's been a great year. Thank you so much for all your hard work, including staff, and thanks for the year coming. I know it's going to be a great year, too. And I want to thank you on behalf of the 300-plus members of the Historical Society of the Crescenta Valley for the direction you're moving on Rock Haven, plus the direction you seem to be taking on Montrose Shopping Park and Design Review Board, but particularly Rock Haven. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lisa Bubari.
Good evening and congratulations.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, I am here on behalf of the Glendale YWCA. As being on the board of the Glendale YWCA, today I am wearing the hat for the fundraising chair. And I'm here to announce, invite each and every one of you to our annual Heart and Excellence Legacy Luncheon that is going to be held on May 2nd at the Castaways in Burbank. And this year we're honoring 5 women and 1 couple. And the people who we're honoring, the ladies, are Mary Boger, Marilyn Gunnell, Carol Jeroyan, Joan McCarthy, Officer Sue Shine, and also Susie and Richard Dell. And this year our luncheon honorary co-chairs are Fran Buchanan, Ruth Charles, and Lynn Raggio. So this year we expect and hope that we have a great turnout, and it's our 12th annual Legacy Luncheon, and we invite the community and each and every one of you to participate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Yusefian.
Lisa, if people would like to participate, how would they do that? Do you have a phone number? Or
Thank you. This is my first time here, so
it's all right.
Everybody, they may contact the Glendale YWCA, and the phone number is 242-5144, I believe. Of course, I don't have it with me, but the Glendale YWCA has the information.
411 and get the number.
Glendale YWCA, all the reservations goes through them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was our last speaker for oral communications. So oral communications is closed. Next item, please.
Under action items at 8A is City Attorney regarding allocation of funds for the acquisition of the former Rock Haven Sanitarium site at 2713 Honolulu Avenue and costs associated with securing and maintaining the site. At 8A is a resolution appropriating $8,800,000.
I'll move 8A.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Starbird.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, your action this evening at this point seems somewhat anticlimactic now that you've been thanked by many people for having already done it. But there is a vote to be taken. I might add that our effort to date, and the escrow has yet to close, I think the projected date next week. There's been a significant amount of inspection of the site by almost every department in the city. Our effort has been to secure the site, preserve what's there, and focus in particular on the safety of the site, particularly so that there is as little fire potential as as possible. We're recommending an appropriation that's really twofold. One is the money needed to close the escrow, the purchase of the site at $8,250,000 plus closing costs. We estimate it'll be less than $50,000. And we're recommending that you allocate an additional $500,000 to this year's CIP. Only a small fraction of that will likely be spent between now and the close of the year, and the money will flow forward to the subsequent fiscal year as we continue to work on the site. I'd like to ask that George Chapchin give you a very brief overview of the walkthrough.
Yep. I just saying, Mr. Starbird, the new mayor, I think, would like to go out to dinner with some of his friends, so hope this isn't
Very clear. We will keep it
too
very
long.
brief.
Well, I thank you for being so concerned about my
Well, if you want to stay to midnight,
my potential.
He just wants to go home to his grandchild, that's what it's really true.
Mr. Mayor, it's entirely up to you. You'll find the enthusiasm among the staff about this site to be rather high. The large number of people who walk through it see a great deal of potential, but we'll take our lead from you.
Let me just explain to some of you who don't attend or tune in often enough to know what some of this chuckling is about. I have, since I've come to this council, this aversion to PowerPoint presentations. Everyone has one. And the reason is simply that very often, well, you may not be aware, we all have a tremendous amount of reading. We read our packets and materials. Many of these materials are included in there, and so when a PowerPoint is presented and the staff member is simply reading to us what we've already read and what's sitting in front of us and what's on the screen, I don't understand why we do that. I know George is not at all going to do that, so I leave it to your, I leave it to your discretion, sir.
There's not even any words. Oh, there's not any words. This is just a brief
In other words, it's yours to lose, Mr. Chapchin.
Anyway, again, congratulations, Mayor Draymond. Just briefly, this is the Rock Haven site. As you know, there are 15 buildings on the site. We, as Mr. Starbird said, a number of department heads and department personnel walk through the site, assessing everything from the buildings, the plumbing, the HVAC, the irrigation, security, the fencing. Everything on the site was assessed, an initial preliminary assessment, as much as we could do right now, in one day. Got the reports back. Again, the intent right now is to secure the site, as Mr. Starbird said, preserve the site as it is, go in and do some cleanup. There's some trip hazards in there that we want to eliminate if we can. In terms of the next steps for this site, we want to do a long-term master plan that will focus on short-term, medium, and long-term use of that site and how we use it, create some options, get the community involved in that process, and look at some of the costs associated with the master planning and creating a facility that the community really will be proud of. So these are kind of the next steps that we do want to take a look at. It's a fabulous site, and I think everyone involved in it is very excited about the potential that this site could have for the residents of Glendale. And that's just briefly what we've done. We do need to go back in there again once we take ownership of it, get a full assessment of what really needs to happen. Some of the buildings are in good shape, some aren't, and really get a good cost estimate of what it will cost us. Actually, tomorrow we are going back. There are a number of artifacts. They were all cataloged by the library. There's some artifacts that were removed from the site. It's at the Outer campus. We have staff going there tomorrow to take a look and catalog that as well, and then later on bring it to a safe and secure facility. Staff will also be out there tomorrow with our contractor to look at the cleanup of the site and what it's going to cost to clean up the site. So we'll have an estimate, at least initially, how much it will cost just to kind of clean it up and keep it and secure. We are looking at potentially having someone there 24/7, just so that the site doesn't become an attractive nuisance. So that's kind of a synopsis of where we're at, and certainly give you an update as we move along.
Nice PowerPoint.
Thank you, Mr. Chapchin. Mr. Najarian.
And I know we want to be brief, but perhaps the gentleman who spoke earlier, who was the caretaker, may have some...
We already have his number, and the departments are competing to see who's going to sit down with him and get an oral history.
Yeah.
I
know, we have his telephone number already.
By the way, did you notice Helix?
Yes, Helix, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And I think, I believe the library is also working with the Historic Society. I'm sure we get as many people as we can.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much. I have one card, one speaker card, Stephanie Landrigan.
I heard Stephanie was against our purchase.
Yeah.
Let's take another vote.
Let's see if you're right.
Carpe Sanatorium. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, that's the city motto, folks, by the way. Carpe Sanatorium. Sanitarium, actually, but anyway. Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Quintero.
Yeah, I just want to say how happy I am for the entire city of Glendale, because this is going to literally be a regional park that Glendale residents will use, as well as residents of La Crescenta, the county portion, and Tahunga, and everywhere else. This is truly a magnificent property. Whenever we buy these, this sort of parkland and do these things, neighborhoods are usually quite happier. When we purchase the open space, neighborhoods are happy, but in this case, I think the entire city is going to benefit by this first purchase, and I'm just looking forward to cleaning it up and letting the citizens use it.
Thank you. Mr. Starbird.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think it would be appropriate to express our thanks to Ararat Home throughout this process of the purchase. Mr. Howard and I and Mr. Garcia spent quite a few meetings with Ararat Home negotiating the purchase at every stage, at all times. They were gentlemen in the truest sense of the word, reasonable, very open to us. Mr. Hampar, in particular, the chairman of the board, Ararat Home, quite a gentleman, very gracious, very open to our interest and our concerns. Mr. Jack Nazarian, who was a realtor representing them, has always been very helpful. So I think it would be appropriate to thank them for being the other willing partner in this process as we negotiated what I think was a very reasonable purchase price.
I agree. Do we have any other discussion before we vote? None. Mr. City Clerk.
Council members Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Yusefian,
Aye.
and Mayor Draymond.
Yes. Thank you all. Next item, please. Do we have a motion?
Is there any
Adjourn in memory.
new business? Adjourn in memory of Mr. Herbert Clark.
Dale
and
Metcalf.
Dale Metcalf. Thank you all.
Motion was made by...
We have a motion by
All right, thank you.